We are, of course, going to spend this video talking about this absolutely amazing Abasi Concepts Emi 6 guitar. But this story actually starts a few months ago when I tried my first Abasi Concepts instrument, which was a Larada. And to be completely honest, that guitar wasn't really for me. Nonetheless, I could tell that the design had a lot of potential, so at the end of the video, I said this. But if you're buying one of these guitars because you think it's going to be as ergonomic as, say, a Strandberg guitar or even a Klein guitar, I don't think that this guitar is at that level of ergonomics just yet. At least not for me, my body, and my playing. That being said, I think this Abasi guitar has unlocked something I hope is refined in the future. I think that this guitar, perhaps in a different model, can represent the ultimate ergonomic guitar because we would still have a headstock, tuners, or normal bridge, and so on. Now, I don't know what that design will look like. I don't know how it will balance. I don't know if it's even possible. But if Abasi Concepts figures it out, I'll be the first one to pre-order that guitar. And since I'm a man of my word, when the Emi 6 was announced, I ponied up $4,000 more and bought it for another unbiased, non-sponsored review. And I can now confidently say that this Emi 6 is one of, if not the best instrument I've ever played in my 19 years with the guitar. In fact, it's even completely changed many of my prior held beliefs about guitar design. Now, this isn't a normal guitar, so this won't be a normal initial impressions video. Instead, I'm going to explain why this guitar is so special to me by comparing it to a lot of my other very beautiful, but frankly speaking, quite expensive guitars. I'm also going to share why it's worth even more than I paid for it and how it compares to the Larada. And I'm also going to talk about how it changed my mind about certain guitar specs. And if we have time, I'll even show you how Tosin and I are on a strange parallel guitar design trajectory. So as you can tell, we have a lot of ground to cover today and we have a lot of guitars to talk about. So please give this video a like now before you forget. Thank you. And we're on to it. All right, so I think it's safe to say that many, if not most guitarists, chase tone and inspiration above all else when it comes to guitars. For example, if you're recording a Guns N' Roses inspired song, you may grab a Les Paul. If you're working on some country licks, you probably grab your Telly, and that makes a lot of sense. But that's never really been my thing. Now, one of my main goals has always been to learn as much as possible so I can break that all down and become the world's best guitar teacher. And yes, I'm also trying to create a unique style that mixes traditional blues with jazz and modern chords and shred legato with some heavy riffs, but above all else, I'm most excited about teaching others how to play the guitar. And working to become known as one of the best guitar teachers one day, that for me involves spending a lot of time sitting down with a guitar and practicing, studying, and thinking of teaching. And if you're interested in learning from me directly, the Patreon is linked below. As a result, I've been chasing comfort, stability, and utility above all else. I'm looking for the guitar I can comfortably sit with for the longest period of time without wasting time tuning every 20 minutes, without my left hand getting tired, without my body aching from the posture, without distracting 60-cycle hum, and so on. Now, on that journey, one of my first thoughts was to find the most reliable, easiest playing guitar that was ever built, and that brought me to this $3,700 Sean Lane Signature VJ guitar. This is an absolutely amazing instrument packed with a ton of features, and it's one of my favorite guitars ever. For me, the best features are number one, the completely flat fretboard radius. This is the only electric guitar that I know of that you can buy that has a completely flat fretboard radius. I also love the amazing tuning stability and this wonderfully silky vibrato bridge. Now, in terms of my legato playing, I can move faster on this guitar than I can any other guitar that I've ever played. But there are a few things that I still don't love about it. Number one, it has a 24.8-inch scale length, which is really fun for playing fast. But when playing pentatonic blues or rock licks at or above the 12th fret, things get difficult because the fret spacing is pretty close together. I also prefer a neck-through design over a bolt-on whenever possible for the improved high fret access and overall comfort. And as you can see, just like with every other traditional guitar shape, with this one, I need my Perform X tool to keep it propped up in the proper playing position. And honestly, although I really, really love the way that this neck feels, it is a little bit too thin for me personally, which causes a bit of discomfort after about 2 hours of playing. So when I'm practicing pretty chords and legato stuff, I absolutely love to play this guitar. But then when I go to work on traditional blues and rock licks, I usually pick up my $2,000 Klein Steli. By the way, I have a free series on my Guitarcraft newsletter and my Guitarcraft and Other Stuff podcast where I talk all about sophisticated blues and rock inspired playing. You can subscribe to that for free below if you're interested. So back to this Steli guitar that I really, really love. It has a 25.5 inch scale length, which makes for a very comfortable spacing at and above the 12th fret. It also has a very nice fat neck that I personally find more comfortable, which when combined with the ergonomic body, makes for overall unmatched comfort. I mean, I can literally sit with this guitar all day long and play, and my left hand never gets tired and my body never gets fatigued. The ergonomics are frankly unmatched. That being said, it does have a 14 to 15.5 compound radius, and I prefer something a bit flatter. I also like to have a floating bridge on my guitar, and I also like having a guitar with a truss rod that can be adjusted without having to remove the entire neck. And yes, I can play fast legato on this guitar and really any guitar that I pick up for the most part. But since this is a Tele-inspired guitar, playing like that is a bit of a fight, and that's totally okay. This is not made to be some modern shred machine. It's meant to be a Tele-inspired guitar, and I love it for that. Okay, so thus far, the best compromise that I found is this $3,000 Strandberg Bowden Fusion neck through, and I already did an entire series on this instrument, so I won't rehash all the points here. Long story short, I love the lightweight body and ergonomic design. It's another guitar that I can sit with literally all day long without discomfort. It has a very flat 20-inch radius, which is also great. And it's also the only guitar out of the three I just mentioned that has a nice neck through design. And this is frankly amazing. However, I don't really like the whole fan fret thing. And the Endure neck is definitely very comfortable, but it's not my preference. And I also don't love the headless design. And the bridge is really, really good, but it can be a bit finicky and I don't love it overall. It's not my favorite floating bridge. Nonetheless, this is still an amazing guitar. And again, it's in my top 3 mainly because of how comfortable it is for me to play for an extended period of time. So by now you probably think you figured it out. The Abasi Emi replaces all of these guitars, which is why it's worth so much money. It has a neck through design and a 20-inch radius like the Strandberg. It has a silky smooth and easy to use trem like the VGA, a 25.5-inch radius with straight frets like the Klein, and an ergonomic design that combines the best of the Strandberg with the best of the Klein while retaining a headstock. Okay, so I just got done editing the entire video and I even timestamped it right now. And then I just remembered that there's something that I didn't mention that's super important. The fit and finish on this guitar is perfect. It's immaculate. Not a single paint defect, not a single rough corner. Every fret is perfect. It's absolutely flawless. And a lot of you are thinking to yourselves, okay, well, a guitar that money, it's going to be flawless. But if you follow me on Patreon, you know that that's not the case. In fact, I recently tried a different guitar that was $5,000 and it wasn't flawless. So we should never take for granted when instruments or when anything is built to perfection, no matter what the price. This thing is built to perfection. It's amazing. I love it. Yes, that's all true. And that alone would make this guitar my personal dream come true. But this Emi is actually even more than that because it also improves on all of the issues that I had with the Larada. The first issue I'm having is with this pickup selector switch. You'll notice that the angle is straight instead of diagonal like a normal switch. And I do think this orientation looks good from an artistic perspective, but I found it to be less useful when actually playing. I rarely hit a 5-way switch on any other guitar, but I found myself constantly hitting this switch. It also comes out at an angle that's pointed a bit more this way than straight on, but I'm not really finding it useful. Now the 5-way switch on the Emi is also straight, but that actually doesn't bother me this time around. Instead of coming out on an angle like the Larada, it actually just comes straight up. And now I actually find that this location allows me to switch more frequently, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Point being, this switch is not an issue anymore. The next thing I want to talk about is the neck joint. Again, from the front, I think it looks super cool having this extra long upper part here. And even from the back, I really love how this sculpting just looks from an aesthetic, artistic perspective. But although I think it looks super cool, I personally find it very uncomfortable. When I play almost anything above the 12th fret with this guitar, my hand just feels very strange and locked in a way that I personally don't enjoy. As you can see, this is obviously a double cut design, and that's a huge benefit for me personally because I can get my thumb wrapped over the top no matter where I want to go. And I should also say that the overall sculpting on the heel joint is amazingly comfortable and allows for perfect upper fret access. And it just looks beautiful. Now, although this also has the same cut as the Larada, since the weight is subtracted from the area right here on the guitar, I find the overall balance to be better, at least on my body. And as you can see, it balances perfectly in my preferred playing position, but you can also play it in the normal playing position like this, or completely in between your legs in the classical position. By the way, I've also seen a lot of people comment that the Emi looks better than the Larada, but I actually think the Larada looks better than the Emi, but I prefer the ergonomics and overall comfort of the Emi. So let me know in the comments below what you think of each design and what you think you would like better. Okay, so with all of that in mind, you're probably thinking that now you understand why I love this guitar, but that's actually still not it. There's still so much more because this guitar has changed what I thought I liked about guitar design overall. First, check out this clip from one of my earlier gear reviews where I discuss a VGA guitar. Not this VGA guitar, but a different one that I used to have. I'm selling this guitar for exactly one reason, and that is the forearm bevel. I also need to sit with my forearm propped up on the back of a guitar so that my arm can fall nicely in place over the strings. It gives me the ability to navigate the guitar comfortably. When I try to sit and play, my arm constantly slides off. Now, I still agree with everything that I said in that video, but one thing I didn't realize is that an extreme forearm contour can still be comfortable for me if the paint choice is correct. See, the VGA in that video had a matte finish, and that matte finish was very smooth, which was causing my arm to slip. Now, this Abasi Concepts guitar actually has a gloss finish on the forearm contour, and that gives me the perfect amount of grip to stay anchored while I'm playing this guitar. And so this forearm contour is no longer an issue. It's actually a huge benefit and it improves my comfort overall. And here's the craziest thing about it. The forearm bevel itself is gloss, but the top of the guitar is actually satin. So that means for a fact that someone over at Abasi Concepts said to themselves, okay, we want to do matte here and gloss here. I'm not sure if they went with the gloss here so that you don't slip, or if they just thought it would look cool. Either way, it does tell me that the people over at Abasi Concepts are actually thinking critically about guitar design rather than rehashing the same design over and over and over again, but we won't go down that rabbit hole right now. Okay, so for this next point, I need to find a video clip. If you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me talk about the fact that too many guitar companies use the same boring C-shaped neck, and then a lot of other companies use necks that are too thin. This Emi's neck is thinner than I would usually prefer on a guitar. But for some reason, the overall shape and design does not bother me. I find it thin, but still super comfortable, which I've never felt about any guitar ever. Now, the shape is listed as a OV form plus or minus neck profile with a slightly asymmetrical, subtle teardrop shape. I can't pretend to know what any of that means, but I can tell you that even though I usually like a thick neck, and even though I usually find that thin necks make my hand fatigue very quickly, I find this neck incredibly comfortable. And I don't know why, but I do. And here's another thing that everyone knows about me. I usually don't like single coil pickups, especially single coil pickups in a Strat. In fact, I have regularly stated that I don't like strats anymore to begin with. And to be completely honest, if during the last Abasi Concepts drop there was a humbucker version of this guitar, I would have gotten that one instead. That being said, this guitar has even changed my mind about what I thought about single coil pickups. These Fishman Fluent single coils are amazing. They're just amazing. And here's the thing. The reason I got so annoyed with strats in the past is because when I was a teenager, I played the same strat for many years, and at that time I was studying and playing jazz. So I was always told to use the position that combines the neck and the middle pickup. And apart from studying jazz, I was also obsessed with Stevie Ray Vaughan. And so whenever I was trying to imitate Stevie Ray Vaughan, I would use the neck position. So between using the neck and middle for jazz and using the neck and middle or just the neck for Stevie Ray Vaughan, I got burnt out from hearing those tones for so long. And I also really cannot stand noise in my signal chain, so traditional single coil pickups really do bug me. These Fishman Fluence pickups are completely noiseless, and this guitar is the quietest guitar I've ever played in my life. Even humbucker guitars can get a little bit of hum in certain positions depending on where you are. This guitar is absolutely dead silent and I love it. Moreover, the pickup switch location allows for me to really easily change pickups while playing. And having that switch there easily for me to grab right while playing, that has led me to experimenting more with all of the strat tones instead of just the neck or the neck and middle. And that has completely revitalized my interest in single coil pickups, at least in these special Fishman Fluence noiseless ones. And then on top of that, we have this push-pull, so we can go from a very traditional sounding pickup sound to a bit more of a hotter single coil sound. And since I started my electric guitar journey with a strat, this guitar really brings me full circle. Although this is not the end of my journey, but you get what I'm saying here. And speaking of full circle, I want to share something else that I've never shared before. Around the same time that I was exclusively playing strats and studying jazz, I got really fascinated by the guitarist John Stoll because he has a really beautiful chord vocabulary, he has a very light touch, and I was always interested in his playing position, which as you can now see, I've to some degree copied, mimicked, learned from. But even back then, I knew there was something off about the traditional strats ergonomics. Hold on, let me get you something. So as you can see, this is a strat. When I was a teenager, I was always experimenting with guitars, so I bought this very cheap pawn shop strat copy style guitar. It even has a scalloped fretboard because I was really trying to learn about light touch and all of that stuff. But as I'm sure you can see very clearly, it has a huge cutout at the back so that you can place it on your leg just like this and have it be a bit more ergonomic. And if you can't tell yet, these two do have a little bit of a resemblance. Now, I just took a reciprocating saw to this guitar to see if I can make it a little bit better as an experiment, and no one has ever seen this before. And this happened a very long time ago. There's no way that Tosin Abasi copied my idea. But I do think that it led some credibility that this guitar was to some degree, somehow cosmically, made for me. We're going to be talking about this a lot more soon. We're going to have a lot more playing with this guitar very soon. But until then, I'm Andre Flood, and I'll talk to you soon.